Today I wanted to talk about fear of conflict because I think I really became somebody who was just more interested in not saying anything at all than saying something that could get any sort of rise out of anyone. I thought it was just because like, oh, I just don't care enough to say anything, but I think it's more like censorship. And so the other day I was on Instagram, and again, normally I will never comment on anything or I will never like speak my opinion. There was this video of a girl who was basically saying that like women shouldn't date men because men harm women like 90% of the time. Like you're going to get physically or emotionally or spiritually harmed by some guy. And I just thought it was such a ridiculous thing to say that I wanted to say like something about it. And it's funny because she replied to me, and I noticed like my heart rate started escalating, and I started feeling like we were actually about to get in a fight. But it's just so funny because like I never put myself in these situations anymore. So I just feel like even the littlest thing like spikes my heart rate, and I find it difficult. Like I keep thinking, oh, it's just better not to say anything at all because I don't want to upset anyone. I don't want to like have anyone not like me, even a stranger on the internet, which is like crazy. I want to be somebody who can speak my mind when I feel like it is a good idea to do so and not be afraid or not like get I don't know if I can change a physiological reaction to conflict, but I don't want that to be like the reason why I don't do something. Does that make sense? Because someone else isn't going to like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, why this change? Why is it. Let me back up with this actually. So, this new desire comes in that says, I would like to express myself.
Yeah.
And what you're noticing is that getting in this way is. It's a strong word, but just for to be basic, it's fear, right? This fear
Yeah.
comes in that says, oh God, I don't like when people disagree with me, and it's causing this physiological reaction for
Yeah.
you, right? So, why why the change? Like, why did you decide that this fear is worth overcoming in order to express your opinion about things?
It's funny because like on one hand, I'm I've been taking martial arts now for the last like 6 months, and I've it's been changing my opinion about who I can be physically because I was never strong. And as I'm getting stronger and stronger and more capable, um, I feel that strength. Um, I think I feel less vulnerable to people. And so I want to have that not just be like in my physicality, I guess, like not be afraid of taking on some sort of challenge, but also like I guess I still feel like scared of speaking up and being emotionally vulnerable. Like I'm less scared of that's the best way to describe it. I'm less scared of being physically vulnerable now because I feel less so, but I still feel so emotionally vulnerable, and it just I think it's getting in the way of this I because I what I want to do is work on my career, which means as an actor entertainer and all the other things I do, I have to essentially put myself out there constantly. And if I'm afraid to speak my truth or be who I am, then it makes it really difficult to put yourself out there. Like you're hesitant. You're trying to curate your image a little bit too much, and I don't like doing that because I think it's like inauthentic. Like I would rather attract the people who are right for me by being myself than attract everybody who wouldn't necessarily be right for me, wouldn't actually like me for who I am just because I'm trying to play it safe. I don't know, there's just something about this emotional vulnerability that I want to overcome in the same way that I felt compelled to overcome my physical um uh like my physical deficiencies, let's call them.
This might be two questions, but you can answer either one or you can answer both.
Okay.
So I think part one is, why would putting out your authentic self make you more vulnerable? And maybe part two, you can answer both or either one of these, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
good to put them together. What does it even mean to be vulnerable?
Oh. It's funny because when you ask the second question, it makes me realize it's like almost you're always vulnerable in some way or another. Like someone can critique literally anything that you do. You could be critiqued for not speaking up. You could be critiqued for speaking up. For this opinion, for that opinion. There's no like what you see as I don't know, um, valuing something, somebody else will see the exact opposite. They'll see it as some deficiency or whatever. So I guess you're kind of like always vulnerable. So because of that, it's like I'd rather be vulnerable and feel this sense of freedom, like a freedom in the sense that I don't need to audit myself. I think it's auditing. Like, you know, when you're around like a really close friend and you can just, like, there's nothing in your head that's thinking about yourself. It's just like self awareness constantly that I don't enjoy. And the less I'm self aware and the more present I am, the more my freedom of expression comes out, the happier I am, the more full of joy I am. I'm almost forgetting your question now, but
So let me put into an analogy that I think will help. Let's think about physical vulnerability, right? I'm
okay.
going to give you an example that I think makes sense. So if I'm wearing a suit of armor, I'm not that scared of people hitting me. If
Yeah.
I lose the suit of armor, I feel more vulnerable because I feel more susceptible to being damaged or attacked by other people, right? If someone
Hmm.
attacks me, I'm more vulnerable to their attack because I've lost my suit of armor,
Yeah.
right? So if I were to kind of put this analogous to your situation, it's kind of like we're walking down the streets and someone is ready to attack us, and the way that we can mitigate that attack is by giving them opinions that they like, right? Like we're trying to convince them not
Hmm.
to hit us in the face, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
But you'll notice that I haven't really used the word vulnerable yet. Like we haven't really discussed your vulnerability. You're walking down the street, we're basically talking about your defensive tactics, right?
Oh,
Like
okay.
like I'm just going to keep to myself to not provoke that guy over there,
Yeah.
right?
You're right.
So
It's
this
not
is
really
what we mean
about
by
vulnerability.
vulnerability. Like how much damage can an attack do to us when it comes,
Okay.
right? Versus
Yeah.
like the presence of threat in the environment is how likely we are to be attacked, which you can mitigate
Mm.
by kind of staying out of dangerous alleyways, or in this case, not voicing your opinion and provoking somebody to get upset with you,
Yeah, it's like I don't
right?
even want to take that chance. I don't want it to happen. I found like a lot of my life has been built on other people liking me and supporting me, and especially when you become like a live streamer online, like your livelihood is dependent on people making donations to you. So you get like in the habit really quick of trying to keep everyone happy so that they would want to do something nice for you. Or like even if it's not so self-serving, it's like sometimes it's not about like, oh, if I do these, I would say most of the time, if not all the time, it's not about me trying to do these nice things to get something from you, but rather prevent you from like attacking me. It's like I just don't want you to hate me. Like please, like let's like each other. It's so much nicer whenever it's everything goes smoothly and I don't need to, and I bet you if you were to go back and do some like childhood shit, because I always try and think like when there's a pattern, like where did the pattern begin? And I know there were some people in my family in my life that maybe would blow up if you do certain things and then stay calm when you behave a different way. And so you sort of get used to behaving, okay, I'm going to behave, I'm not going to do anything that could trigger you. I would not do anything that could like cause this thing to blow up, because when it does, it's very scary and I don't know what's going to happen to me. I think it's the same shit, you know?
Yeah. So let me start by acknowledging something here, and this is going to be kind of a personal opinion, but I imagine you're going to agree with it because it's very sensible, I
Okay.
think. Which is that I think that this evolved in the social human DNA for a reason. There are lots of times where the conflict that offering an opinion introduces is
Mm-hmm.
probably not worth it. Like if I have a neighbor and they say something that I don't talk to every once in a while and they say something ridiculous and I decide to share my unfiltered authentic opinion about how ridiculous that is, I'm introducing a conflict and getting upset over this person where there's like no real relationship, right?
Yeah.
I think that there can be a healthy relationship with going, it's not worth it to
Yeah.
get invested in this argument, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I think I would get you to agree with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
not saying like choose violence every single time. Yeah.
So the idea there makes a lot of sense. But I think what's interesting is that we're talking about what happened with you yesterday on Instagram, where you're now very removed from your social media career, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
removed from your streamer career, and yet you're still going back to that. Like you still feel like you're. It almost sounds like you feel yourself still attached to that mindset from back then.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
it's like weird. I remember the turning point too. Like I remember it's like it felt so good to get a lot of likes on your tweet. And then it felt so shitty to like feel like you're talking to nobody like when you would get no response. So I think your body just like learns really quickly to favor one over the other because one gives you a positive response and the other doesn't. And I wonder, I mean, like we're so wired to avoid any sort of pain. And I think like for me conflict is pain every time. And I just would like to make it less painful because like I love physical fighting now. I fucking love it. It gives me such a rush. I laugh. It's so much fun. I just took my first jujitsu class yesterday and I was like Buddy was like about to break my wrist, threw me on the floor. I'm just in it like instantly and I find it so fun. It's it's so like obviously he's not actually breaking my wrist. I probably wouldn't have a good time with that. But sort of like that play fighting. There's no real threat here, but it's like you're practicing. You're like two cats like duking it out, like, you know, with the claws sheathed, but like you're still getting that stimulation. And I can't help but wonder, like, could it be the same with like a good argument with somebody? Like, isn't it could be fun, maybe? I don't know. Like,
Uh,
why does it need to be so scary? Like, why can't it be like engaging and like challenging and like I don't know.
I think all of us have met one person who's like the debate personality, right? There's
Yeah.
debate class in high school. There are people where they really enjoy this critical, argumentative interaction with one another, right?
Yeah.
So, um, I think that is there's proof in the environment of that being true, right?
Yeah.
That you can be the kind of person that kind of gets in the same way that you might get a rush from somebody, kicking you in martial arts, you might get a rush out of somebody critiquing your points. Like I know people like that, right? So I think that
Yeah.
in theory, yeah, of course that person can
Yeah.
exist. Um, whether that's the approach that you want to eventually end up in, right? Where it's like it's fun and provocative to piss people off, or like I like getting involved in these debates, right? Whatever attitude you end up wanting to evolve out of this,
Yeah.
I think we can start with something more foundational, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I really appreciate the insight in what you said of your body learns very quickly to favor one over the other, right?
Mhm.
And as you know, like a phrase that I like to use a lot is adaptive. The problem with this is that it's not adaptive, right? If we
Maladaptive.
learn that we should avoid conflict all the time or we should embrace the rush of conflict all the time, this isn't evaluating the situation in front of us and thinking about which one works better. It's developing a reckless loyalty towards one or the other,
Right. Yeah.
right? So I think that this is a really good place to just start and be mindful about is that when I feel like I have this approach to conflict, is it adapting to the situation? Am I looking at the situation and going like, what's the value in getting like engaging in some sort of discussion like this, right? So kind of what we were talking about earlier about how do we pick our battles? Is it worth it to get into? We're kind of practicing this in a larger way, I think,
Okay.
right? Because I do think that there is a risk with this reckless self-determination of I am who I am and the world has to accept me and I have to be out there and people have to accept it and just going out there and having abrasive, you know, conflict-provoking opinions that you're constantly streaming out into the world because you've decided that you need to be out there.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's a good decision. Sometimes it can be part of somebody's like growth cycle and they kind of need that phase of like recklessness to get through it.
Right.
But I think that you're at a stage where that isn't going to serve you.
I don't want
Does
to
that
be
make
like
sense?
that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like the key word that I would introduce here is adaptive. When I'm looking at the situation,
Mhm.
is it actually worth putting myself out there for it?
Right. Okay.
Right. It's just a good question to be mindful about so
Yeah.
that we don't feel like we're trading our body has learned to be conflict averse, and we don't want to trade this out to just embracing conflict at any opportunity because we're trying to prove to ourselves that we can overcome that.
Yeah, it's like, just to give a thought here. It's funny because I feel like that's what I was doing. Like, I would not say anything because I never felt like it would be worth it. But there were times whenever somebody did, like, for example, I had one friend who I really like, and she had this guy friend who would always insult her and call her fat under the guise of a joke. I had no problem like telling him to shut up and say like, you're being extremely rude, like you do not talk to a friend like that. I don't care if you're joking, it's really not nice. Like, this is not how we treat people. And weirdly, I was totally fine saying that. Um, but then like all the 99% of the time, I just find myself saying like, it's not worth it because I can't do anything about it. It's not going to change anyone's mind. It's just going to piss them off. It's just going to create conflict for no reason, essentially. So like, sometimes I wonder like, will I ever be able to look at something and say it's worth it whenever it's not like, instantly solving something. Like, that guy got shut down and he got quiet and he got put in his place. Okay, good. Like, it did something. He shut up. He stopped saying the insulting things towards my friend. Um, and yeah, but every other situation, like when you're online, like, how is it ever helpful to like leave a comment telling someone like they're, that their argument is flawed? Is it though? Maybe they look at it and they're like, actually, maybe I should, think again about this. But I would say most of the time, people don't take criticism very well. But is that for me to decide? I don't know. Now I'm just sounding like I'm overthinking.
Was it a mistake to do that for your friend? Like, when someone calls your friend fat, right? Is it a mistake for you to stand up for her?
No, I don't think so.
Let's take what you just said, where it's, it doesn't change anyone's mind, it doesn't affect anything. So why wouldn't you apply that to this situation? Why was it worth it to get invested like that?
Um, it's weird. It just felt like it was something I had to say because no one else was saying it and everybody else was laughing, and it was just like, why is everyone okay with this? I don't know. It just felt like the right thing to do. Um, like, I didn't want to hear that guy fucking talk any longer about it. Like, it was boiling my blood to hear him treat her like that.
What do you think the outcome? What do you think the consequence was of you doing that?
Weirdly, I didn't think about a consequence in that moment. I was just like, if you were to ask me now what I thought like, it could be, like, oh, like someone could tell me to shut up or say mind your own business or whatever. But most of the time when you're in a social situation and if you call someone out, they do kind of like shut down a little bit. So I guess I just wasn't even thinking consequence at all.
Yeah. Asking you to think about it now, though, and I do mean consequence in a neutral way, not as a negative consequence, but what was the outcome, right? Like, what was the result of you standing up for your friend like that? Positive, negative, or neutral?
What was the result? He got quiet and he said sorry, and she was like, it's fine, like, 'cause she wasn't taking it on in the first place, and that was the thing that bothered me, is like, she was okay with it, but I still thought it wasn't nice and not something that we should be okay with, Like, you can't say something mean and then laugh after and, oh, it's a joke now because you laughed. Like, it's not funny. Like, if you're going to say something fucked up, like, you better be so funny I feel bad for laughing. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. So he got quiet, he said sorry, and then it just kind of stopped. And she was like, it's okay, whatever. And then I just didn't hear it again. So that was the consequence of it, I guess.
Let's play out the situation over time, right? So your friend goes through life, and I don't know why she's living in a world where this happens, but she lives in a world where every single day someone calls her fat on the street, okay? This happens for 10 years. 10 years in a row of every day going out there and getting called fat, right? Do you think that her life gets better, worse, or stays the same if every day you're out there with her calling people out for it?
Um, I think, like, if I'm not calling them out, like, obviously that's gonna do such a number to her mental health and her sense of self. But if I am there calling people out for it, I think that shows her that, like, it's not a real truth, but rather like somebody's opinion, and it's like, in that everybody's going to hold a different opinion, but it doesn't mean any one of them is like a truth, right? So, but if
Mm.
everyone's saying it and no one's saying anything, then for maybe she thinks, oh, this is true. Like, what if I am, or whatever, or she just feels bad about herself. But I think if you have a friend sticking up for you, like, you feel loved and valued. You feel like somebody's willing to stick their neck out for you a little bit and make things a little uncomfortable for your sake. I don't know. I think that feels good, personally. I would love it if somebody was in my corner beating up everybody who said, talk shit to me. That would be great. Like,
What about the situation changes when you're speaking up for your friend versus when you're speaking up for yourself? Like if you were walking, instead of your friend, you're now walking with your clone.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Would anything about the situation change, or would you still think it's the right thing to speak out like that?
Oh, that's so funny because, like a lot of my, I don't want to say self-defense, but a lot of it is internal. Like, somebody can say some shit and I just look at them funny and then just think like they're an idiot. But I think I would want it. Like, it's so weird. I feel less of a need to speak up for myself because I just feel like, oh, I can just handle it on the inside with me and in a dialogue with myself by saying, oh yeah, that guy clearly has some problems today. Like, I don't feel the need to do it because I don't know if it's actually going to resolve anything. Maybe it would shut the other guy up, but like, it's not going to make me feel any better because I can just do that on the inside and say that guy's a nut. Oh, that guy like woke up and he had shit in his cereal or something. He's having an off day. But if he was saying something like that really bothered me, then I don't know, maybe there'd be part of me that thinks, oh, he's right. It would be hard to like take my own opinion and use it as validation. Like, it almost feels like the validation needs to come from somebody else. Otherwise, I don't know. Because what if
Can
you
I challenge you a little bit?
Yeah, yeah.
I know this isn't true because you and I have talked about the effect of affirmations before,
Okay.
right? Would you agree with that?
So what do you mean?
I mean, you and I have made progress together setting up affirmations for yourself, where you remind yourself that these are things that I appreciate about myself, these are things that I intend to do, it's not my fault if this happens, right? Like,
Yeah.
basic things that remind you of your own opinion and put them as available reminders for yourself. So
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you by saying you and I have used affirmations to effect before. And they weren't
Right.
affirmations I came up with, they were affirmations you came up with,
Right. Yeah.
right?
I, in general, feel a hell of a lot better about myself as a human being than I did in the past.
So a
But-
couple comments here, right?
Yeah.
When you say that it's not worth speaking up for myself, there's like three explanations for this that I see. You can add as many as you want, right? But one, it suggests that you're not worth defending as much as your friend,
Yeah.
which is the topic about self-worth, right?
Yeah.
It suggests two, that you think you're immune to the consequences that she would suffer. So if she's out there every day getting called fat, it's going to affect her mental health. It's going to make it harder to recognize that there are other critical opinions, right? It's going to have all of these negative consequences for you. You think you're immune to that, so you don't need that advocacy, right? Because you're not as vulnerable.
Mhm.
The third one is that you don't think that actions have more value when they become external, right? So a basic example of this is if I say, I'm great, if I say that, and I believe in like silence, cognitive psychology, you know that about me. But
Yeah.
I do think that saying I'm awesome out loud has a greater effect than saying I'm awesome silently inside of our head. So
Oh.
it suggests that you don't think actions, like the power or value of an action changes when it becomes external. So those are
Yeah.
like the three things that I see that are implicit to that idea that it's not worth speaking up for yourself as much as it is your friend.
It's weird. I feel more like when I imagine myself telling some dude off who just, said I was like ugly or something, or stupid. I have a harder time. Like, it feels scarier standing up for me than it does standing up for her. 'Cause like when I stand up for her, I don't know. It's like I'm not. It's weird. I still feel like protected or fine. 'Cause like, the criticism wasn't aimed at me, it was aimed at her. And so I'm calling that guy out and I say, you suck. But like, if the criticism's aimed at me, I don't know, then you feel like you're defensive. Weirdly, in the other situation, it doesn't feel defensive. It feels like I don't know, that you're being like, that he's getting to you, so you have to say something. It's so weird. It's so easy to overthink this, but like there's so many weird things associated with the action of saying something back to that guy, in my mind anyway, that don't apply when you're the second person. Like, but
So
I haven't
let,
really. Sorry, go ahead.
let me offer an idea.
Yeah.
Let's say that you find a picture that you really like, and you go, "Hey,
Mhm.
Justin, this looks awesome," and I go, "This looks terrible." You're like, "No, it looks really good." I'm like, "No, look at this. Look how terribly this is drawn." You go, "Oh yeah, this is a worse picture than I thought it was." Right?
Yeah.
Think about how much that hurts you versus if you drew the picture. So
Yeah.
defending someone else's painting is like this thing that you like, but if I prove that it's a horrible painting, well, that kind of sucks because I liked it and I wanted to like it. But if you drew it, it's a reflection of you.
Yeah. It's here. I can give you like a literal example. I was arguing. I was talking to somebody about uh, water, and how water is constantly being recycled. There's a water cycle. All the water on the planet has been here for forever. And his argument was that it's always being created newly in the atmosphere. And I was like, that is not how this works. And I was trying to explain myself, because like I remember very clearly science class how this stuff works. It's like constantly being, you going from one state into another, into one thing into another, and it's kind of like the cycle of life. But anyway, he called me stupid. Um, for it. He said specifically, you sound so stupid right now. And I remember like starting to question myself a little bit. Like I was like, is water like never new? But I, but then I sat in it and I was like, no, I'm not going to even Google this to try and prove you wrong. Like I really believe that, like I know this to be true. I'm just done with the argument now, because like you kind of just, you ended it by making a personal attack. But anyway, he ended up looking it up and then realized that he was the dumb of the situation and apologized for it. But it was kind of interesting how I caught myself starting to question myself, because I think like that's what we're meant to do, maybe. Like if you hold an opinion on something and somebody who sounds very confident about it, like starts to pick it apart and give you like, no, this and this and this, I think it would be normal to like question. So maybe that's not a bad thing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That was just like the most recent example I could think of where I had sort of conflict, kind of like an argument. I don't know.
So let's sum up a couple of ideas here.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk about the one. I'm gonna comment on what you said most recently, which is just the challenge itself makes you start questioning yourself, even when you feel really sure of it, right?
Yeah.
So something's happening there, which is that you're automatically assigning value to a criticism,
Mhm.
right? So what we can always do is we can decide if we think a criticism is valuable, and sometimes we can shortcut that by deciding if the source of the criticism is valuable.
Okay.
So if I'm trying to run a Fortune 500 company and my toddler starts giving me advice on what to do, I'm really not even going to listen to them, right? Because like, they're a toddler. What the hell do they know, right?
Yeah.
But I could also take my toddler's opinion and then ask myself if I think it's worth considering, and then very quickly going, no, we should not sell Legos at our law firm, right? So we can take the criticism and just sort of isolate it from the source and then ask
Yeah.
ourselves how we feel about it. And I think that that's healthy to some degree.
Mhm.
We don't want to go, I know so much that I shouldn't listen to other people, but we do want to have some kind of quality control where we decide, do I need to value the criticism?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's worth looking at the criticism itself. Sometimes it's worth looking at the person.
Mhm.
If someone starts talking, I'm in the same position, right? If somebody starts talking about the flat Earth, I just kind of check out and I stop really caring about what they have to say, because like as soon as somebody's a flat earther, I know that they're on like a level of conspiracy where this just isn't going to be a valuable conversation,
Yeah.
right? But if they start offering criticism from a place of like high authority or respect, or I have to actually really think about what they said, then it is worth thinking about, right? So what we're
Right.
doing is, what I think is valuable to do is to really add a sense of quality control to when we
Okay.
hear criticisms, right?
I wonder if I do that sort of already subconsciously. You know, I was just thrown because like this was someone who like I considered very successful and intelligent. So that's why it threw me. But that, just because you're intelligent doesn't mean that you know everything and how everything works.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway.
I want to return to the 3 ideas because I think they're worth summing up as things for you to reflect on.
Yeah.
Because I think this deserves another conversation. But just to start, because I think that we've pivoted away from
Yeah.
putting out opinions about things that make us uncomfortable to then defending ourselves on direct attacks. Like, I think these are in the same genre of discussion,
Yeah.
but they're obviously very different ends of it, right? But I think that it's a good place to start is to look at that.
Right.
So when we are willing to stand up for our friend over ourselves, we're subscribing to 3 ideas, which is 1, that you're not worth defending as much as your friend is worth defending. 2, you think you're immune to the consequences that they would suffer, like you're special somehow and your mental health wouldn't be affected by being insulted every day.
Mm-hmm.
Or 3, you don't think that actions have more impact when they become like you don't think that expressions have more impact than internal processes.
Yeah, it's interesting because I definitely resonate with all 3 of those things.
How many of those things do you agree with?
Like all of them, yeah.
On the opposite side of the bet, in the sense that you think that you are worth defending, you think that you are vulnerable to the consequences, and you think that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like I logically know I am worth defending. I don't know if my body feels that way about myself. Does that make sense? But the second, where like that, it wouldn't impact me. Like, oh, it would impact me 100%. And the third, where externalizing things like that feels kind of new to me. Like if you say it out loud, it has more weight than if you're holding it inside. But it's true. Like I feel more things from the actual expression of them than I do if I just do it all internally. Like it just makes perfect sense. But I just never really considered it. I never thought like, oh, it is inherently more valuable for me to say this out loud than it is for it to have a personal thought with myself.
So it sounds like reasonably that you think that it's rational that all 3 of these ideas are wrong, but right now your body feels like in a state where it feels like all 3 of them are true.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah. Like, okay. Yeah.
So you're going to be familiar with this part. Logic doesn't replace emotions, but it can influence it. Right? Mm-hmm. So your body needs to be taught. So next time you're in a situation where these ideas are coming on, you go, ooh, my body doesn't think these things are true, but rationally I recognize that they are true. So I'm going to kind of hold up these ideas for myself, remind them of them, and hopefully they start to have influence over how I feel.
Yeah. Okay.
Another big one that I would like to throw at you here, sorry if I'm tacking on too much, but I think this one's really important. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself if you survived the encounter. Right? So you had that exchange with that person on Instagram. What was the actual practical outcome of that? Did you lose practical like love and support in your real world? Did you lose access to someone that you really wanted to be able to form a relationship with later? Mm-hmm. Did you survive it? What damage did you take? What were the consequences?
Okay.
Because in the moment, when our heart's beating and we're fluttering and our mind's racing, the consequences feel very real. But again, logic influences emotion. So if we can go, oh wait, nothing happened. Right? Okay. But not just going out there and recklessly putting ourselves out there and feeling fear, like not just doing scary stuff for the sake of doing it, doing scary stuff so that we can compare what we were scared of to what we actually should have been scared of.
Okay. And
if you can't think of a consequence for posting online like that, what you should have been scared of was nothing.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So we're entering like that practice of just kind of arguing back against our body when it's reacting in this way that we know isn't reasonably true.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So anytime I engage in something that might be a feeling of a form of conflict, then I'll just do like a damage report after all said and done. And I will take note of like anything I lost in the encounter, any changes that have happened, if I'm still feeling sense of love and security, all that stuff, like as like a real truth. And like, did suddenly my dad decide that he hates me now and like he's not talking to me anymore and I've lost that connection? Like, unless it's that, like, okay.
So 1, the damage report, and 2, the recognition of when you're shutting down, like when you're trying to convince yourself that these things aren't true. Oh, I don't need to speak up for myself. It doesn't have any value. Oh, I'm not worth defending. Right. Okay. Or, these kinds of ideas. So when someone insults you, a shortcut idea I think would be, if this happened to somebody else, would I stand up for them?
Okay.
And if the answer is yes, then why wouldn't I stand up for myself?
Okay.
You haven't found a good answer to that question, so that it probably suggests that you should.
Yeah.
Right? So self-respect is about respecting yourself as an object in the environment, just like any other object in the environment.
Mhm.
Right? So Emily, Katie, Trisha. All three things in the environment, all things worth defending.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I think that next time we talk, or whenever you want to talk about this next, we get to translate this into the other ideas of like, how does vulnerability connect to authentic opinions, right? Because we've pivoted away from that a little bit to, I think, talk in a more basic sense. So I would like to make sure that you feel like we haven't lost that topic and that we can return to it. I don't want you to feel like I stole, the direction of the conversation. So I want you to know, like, we can talk about that more specifically again in another time.
Yeah.
Because it is a different idea, right? It's like, how does vulnerability connect to personal opinions? But starting with challenging this basic idea of, should I put my opinion out there?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Should I defend myself like I defended my friend? I think starts with this, by recognizing, why the hell do we even want to do it? And it's because it's an action of self-respect.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you have no respect for yourself, why are you going to be defending yourself?
An action
If
of
you're not going to be defending
self-respect.
yourself, if you don't respect yourself, why are you going to put out your opinions?
Yeah.
Right? Then they're
It's
just
so
things
funny
that can
'cause
be attacked. Yeah.
like the argument that it's just not worth it was so strong that like I never put self-respect into the equation at all. I was like, I respect myself by not engaging in this and not giving it my time and energy, but like I'm sure it still has an impact, right? Like you're kind of doing nothing for in a sense too. So
Yeah,
okay,
and sometimes
I
you're
never
going
thought
to
of it
use
like
your
that.
judgment, right? Like if a flat earther starts yapping about me humps too because I think the world is round, I feel so secure in that opinion that I don't need to defend myself. I do
Yeah.
think that that's the case where I am immune to the consequences of what it's like. To be like constantly berated by a flat earther, I really don't think that could affect me at this point in my life. But when
Yeah.
we're talking about basic things like self-worth or standing up for ideas that we believe in, I think that there's more gray area here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I don't think this necessarily translates exactly to what we were talking about with sort of like putting an opinion out there on Instagram. But I do think this is a valuable conversation to have before that. I think I've repeated that enough times at this point, but I think
Yeah.
reiteration helps, so I'm going to say it again.
Well, it's good for me because the struggle I have is less about like, oh, I really care about voicing my opinion on Instagram, and more about like voicing my opinion in reality, like with people who are physically present, or just online, putting myself out there, like in terms of my personality and my opinions. I've definitely like found myself not sharing certain opinions because I feel like it would alienate some people. So I think it's more applicable to that anyway. So it's probably better. Like I don't need to think about like, oh, how I can fucking leave more comments on Instagram. Like it's really not that important to me. So
Yeah, so being adaptive about it rather than being like, intensely scared or recklessly self-determining,
yeah, okay.
having a damage report, and asking yourself if you survived those cases when you did put yourself out there, when you did stand up for yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, some ideas for you to chew on, and
Cool.
then we'll follow up on it for sure, I think, because it deserves to.
Yeah, I think this one might take a few like times going through things. But I like the idea of it's just mainly being a practice of staying aware through it and talking through it with myself and recognizing when I shouldn't or want not to like speak up for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. So I like that. Like it's just reminding me to think about it instead of just being like, oh, that was conflict, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Move on with the life.
So I'll send you off for that then.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Till next week.
Until next week.
Bye.